Hello and welcome back to Seconds Out. My name is Eamon Khan, and we're looking back at 2023, which delivered a number of big fights, and it delivered a big fight from Maxi Hughes, who will be happy with his performance, but not happy that he didn't get the victory from the judge's position anyway. But from the boxing fans' eyes, or at least the majority of them, he did do. Maxi, first of all, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Yeah, been like looking back, a bit frustrating over a year. Like you say, it was a big fight. Believed in myself, went there. In everyone's eyes in the boxing world, I still to this day, there's rumours now that George is fighting Loma, and you just look in the comment section, and George just gets a lot of stick saying you don't deserve to be there. You lost. He should have lost to me. So yeah, it's good to see that the boxing world, both sides of the pond, even a lot of Australians have even saying it, that they're seeing it for what it was, and they know that it should be me there and not George.
Just dissecting your year first. Just the one fight. Obviously, it was a huge fight there. But would you have wanted something on the back end of that outing?
Yeah, I wanted like first of all, like we did that deal in February of this year. So once we'd done that, we were told that it was originally going to be 20 days either side, either 20 days before, 20 after, when Haney fought Loma,
Hmm.
which I thought that was great. That's that leaves then room in enough time in year to have a second fight. And then it kept getting pushed back and it kept getting pushed back. And by the time it came round, it was the end of July. So more than half a year had gone before I'd had my first fight of this year. So once that fight had happened and the controversy surrounding it, I just thought there's no way that I'm getting getting out this year, which it's very frustrating. Fighting twice a year is a little bit frustrating, but
Hmm.
I've done that over the past couple of years and I've grown to accept that. But to only have one fight pretty much in middle of the year, it's not the best thing for me anyway. I like to be at least twice. Three times it'd be great, but yeah, at least twice. So just having it the one fighting year, it's not been great.
No, I can imagine and understand your frustrations there. Going back into that one fight that you did have you made peace with the outcome? Although it's not your hand raised, at least to a large degree, a lot of people believe that you should have and did deserve your hand being raised there.
It changes. It can change
Mm.
daily. It can change even just a space of a couple of hours. I'm like, yeah, it was what it was. I'm going to get a big fight off back of it, and then I might see the posters, or somebody might send me a picture of the poster with George and Loma saying this should be you, and it just like reignites the anger, and I'm like, it should be me.
Mm.
George has, he's been given a golden ticket there. Um, that should be me. Um, and the scenario, what's come of the IBF, luckily they have done something about it. I've said it many a times now. Normally in an eliminator, if you don't get the decision, you normally drop either out of the rankings or you drop way down. They move me up from number 9 to number 5, so I'm eligible for a final eliminator. And in obviously a few select words, the email I got from Daryl Peoples, who's the president at IBF, he says, obviously surrounding all the controversy, the messages and emails from your team and fans, we've had the fight rescored by a independent panel of judges, and their words were it was scored differently, which I read between the lines of it should have been given to me. Obviously, they can't change the decision, which is unfortunate. But the fact that I'm going to get at least a final eliminator, I mean, for full justice, they should have scrapped George and put me in there. But it's a world we live in. Unfortunately, boxing is more of a business than a sport. So maybe that fight makes more sense for them as a business with Top Rank and etc. So the positives that have come out of it. My stock has gone up. People haven't forgot it, and I am going to be ordered into a final eliminator.
Just dissecting the fight as well, how do you look back on that performance against George Kambosos Jr., in which you dazzled at times in that fight, and again, like we mentioned, won in a lot of people's eyes. How do you feel you competed at that level, which you hadn't been at before?
Yeah, I knew I was capable of that. That's why I asked for that fight. George will tell you he chose me, but I was the golden goose that landed in their lap. I approached them and I says, I'm free. I'm a free agent promotionally. I've got a belt. I've got the world ranking and I want to fight you. Because I looked in top 10 of the IBF and I looked at George and I thought, he's the easiest opponent out of them. So I know I've got his number. I know I had to prove it to everyone because nobody believed it. But I felt I went out there and did that, very convincing. Looking at the judges' scorecards, I never had a chance in that fight, no matter how, if I'd have performed. The only thing I could have done was knocked him out. But even still, there's probably the danger that the referee might have disqualified me if I did that. Because it was the ref. I might be, if I'm reading right, I think it was the referee, I forget his name, but his twin brother was one of the judges who gave it to George. I can't remember if he gave it close or whether he was the judge who gave it to George by 9 rounds and only gave me 3. So if they knew the score, if that family had been told what was supposed to happen, then I could have well been disqualified. But yeah, looking back at my performance, I'm happy with my performance. I performed well. Showed people that I'm a world class fighter, and I belong at that level. Just unfortunate that the judges, they had their own script that night.
So we said this off camera, but checking out your social media, you're awaiting some fight news, little drips of fight news, and we're expecting maybe something before Christmas to land on your lap. That doesn't seem to be the case right now.
No, we've been told that the first thing I was told were the IBF are letting him keep his belts for his fight against Prograis, which was, when we're at now, not Saturday, but on nearly 2 weeks ago. So we was told that he was keeping his belts then, and after that fight, he was going to be given 72 hours to inform the IBF of whether he's staying at lightweight or vacating. And then they're going to do the ordering of he's fighting him, etc. But I think it was nearly a week before Haney publicly relinquished all the lightweight belts.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, right, that process is now sped up. If he's, gone the correct channels in speaking to the IBF saying, I'm letting you know, I've vacated the belt now. It's free. So the IBF can order who's fighting who. So I thought, right, we're going to hear something sooner. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So I believe we're still waiting on the IBF to officially send the letter of me versus whoever they deem me to be fighting in this final eliminator. So until we get that letter, I don't know. We're speaking to my promoter Lou DiBella every other day, and he, it's sort of same answers. We're still waiting. No news yet. So yeah, it's just frustrating. I just have to try and put it back in my mind and focus on training and improving.
The cliche is no news is good news, but that's not the case in this point in time for you in your career. But what does that mean in terms of your outings early next year, regardless? Have you got a date in mind that you want to be out, irrespective of whatever it is?
At least by March, I need at least 2 fights next year. Hopefully there will be early in the year, so it's a IBF final eliminator. And whoever they put in front of me, I'll make sure I get job done. And the one thing I have been informed is that if George and Loma do fight, the winner of that, I think, has to fight me in their next fight. I don't believe they've been given the room for a voluntary or even possibly a unification. So, on that positive note, I just think, right, whoever they put me in with Eliminator, get job done there, and then boom, end of year. My next fight is for the IBF title. More than likely against, unless a miracle happens, then it'll be against Lomachenko.
Have you been promised a seat at the fight?
Who against?
Loma and Kambosos.
I haven't yet. It's not an avenue of. It's not a something I've gone down. But I'm sure if I speak to Lou, and or Top Rank, I'm sure that they would. I'd like to think that I'd get a seat there. I won't mind going. Personally, hopefully they can get my eliminator before that fight. So then I'm sure they would want me there then to build the fight, get in the ring after and announce that that's the next fight. That'd be pretty decent, like if that could happen.
Remember correctly, George, promised that he would rematch you and it would be for the belt as such. Do you feel no reason to doubt George in any sort of way, but with boxing being such a weird place, do you feel that promise will come to fruition? And would you want it with or without a belt against George?
I just want the biggest money fights, which sort of go hand in hand with the belts. The belt, you get the belts, you get the money. So, I think I can't see how George can beat Lomachenko. But if he does, that's great because it's not just the shot at the world title. It's I shouldn't have to say it, but it's like getting revenge because I beat him anyway. I've got his, I have got his number. So to actually to get the win and it be for the IBF, that'd be great. But I just can't see him being able to pull it off.
There was another offer, I believe, that was put to you in the form of a Dotan Smith fight. What was the situation there?
I've no idea personally. Excuse me.
No problem.
It sort of come out of nowhere. Dalton's the weight above me, isn't he?
Mm.
And I've since spoke to Dalton about it. I'm quite friendly with Dalton and his dad. A lot of time for them. And they just said, look, we it's not something we asked for. And we were just as surprised as you when it was put to us. And we were like, why would Maxi take that? So yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? Dalton's the weight above, and I'm obviously a lightweight. I'm not a big lightweight. I do, it's not like I'm struggling at the weight. I make the weight really good. So yeah, it were a bit of an odd one, and I don't know where it had come from or whose idea it was. But yeah, it just didn't make sense. So I just didn't entertain it.
Understand there, Maxi. Just want to get your thoughts on a couple of things. Your good friend Josh Warrington, look, didn't have the best of years either on his end, but do you feel that Josh can bounce back heading into 24?
Absolutely, yeah. He's been at jib. He's hungrier than ever. So it just needs that that fight confirmation.
You're in a division where it's stacked full of talent, and another incredible talent is making his way and making his waves in the ring as well in the form of Andy Cruz. He looks like a real handful when he eventually gets to the top, Maxi.
Yeah, he does. I've seen his victory against a former opponent of mine, Giovanni Straffon. Though may I do say Straffon's not been same since he was in with me. So I softened him up there, didn't I? But yeah, he looked good. He's obviously ticking the boxes. It looks like they're looking to fast track him. I had after that night, obviously I get on well quite a lot at Matchroom staff. And I got a WhatsApp saying Maxi Hughes v Andy Cruz, Sheffield Arena next year. How much do you want? And I just told them just to not go and get their offer from Joke Shop. But yeah, he's looking good, and be interesting to see what directions that they move in.
Would you entertain it?
Uh, if when's the time's right, like I can't see him being ordered in this final eliminator against me. So, my next fights look like they're going to be sort of set against certain opponents. But in future, yeah, if that fight's there and that fight is the right amount of money, then yeah, I'll fight anyone. I'm not afraid to fight anyone. But now at this stage in my career, it's about if it makes financial sense for me.
Never want to duck a challenge, Maxi, and it's good to hear that
Yeah.
the fire isn't quelled out of you, considering some of the wrong turns that you've had been dealt your way. Have you ever kind of felt that way, that maybe like, because of what you've had in in this recent outing, that maybe you wouldn't want to continue because of the hand that you were dealt in that fight?
The thoughts sometimes float through my head, but while ever I'm feeling good and performing, if I'd have gone in there against George and genuinely got beat and outclassed, I'd have been able to hold my hands up and say I stepped up levels and I'm not yet at that level. But the fact that I pretty much stood George on his head, um, it has stoked the fire to think I'm not letting the shocking judges, I'm not letting that put my fire out. I've showed I'm at that right level. So yeah, it has made me hungry and more determined to make sure that I get that win.
Good to hear it. And I'm hoping to see you out in action again in the big fights in 2024. Well deserving of those opportunities. Maxi, a pleasure. Thanks for speaking to Seconds Out. And again, can't wait to see you back in the ring in 24.
Thank you. Cheers, pal.